Okay, welcome back to the Socialist Report. We got this article from World Socialist website. UK trade union bureaucracy tries to sabotage mounting strike wave. Let's get right into it. This is by Robert Stevens. Britain's trade union bureaucracy is making desperate efforts to sabotage the fight of millions of workers against attacks by the employers and government on wages, conditions, pensions, and jobs. These privatized unions, they are they're all right for right now, but the workers really need to seize the means of production. We need to nationalize every job and give the means of production to the workers. Turn all the except for specific industries like healthcare should be left in the hands of the government. But the only way we can turn all of these jobs into worker cooperatives is by nationalizing them, because the workers do not have the means to seize the means of production themselves. But let's continue. Last Friday, the GMB union called off a planned strike by thousands of ambulance workers set to go ahead on December the 28th. This followed a successful strike last Wednesday involving paramedics, technicians, emergency care assistants, and call handlers at 10 of the 11 regional ambulance services in England and Wales. GMB, Unison, and Unite union members are opposing a pay award imposed by the Conservative government of just 4%, with RPI inflation running at 14%. A little going off topic a bit here. The reason why I cover world news and not just news in the United States is in order to unite. The socialist agenda is to unite the international proletariat. So just covering the issues of Americans is not covering the issues of the proletariat altogether. Because just because the United States, the working class in the United States has problems, you cannot be an actual socialist if you're just focused on national issues. You got to be focused on the working class of the world. So let's continue. The strike was called off without the government making a single concession, with the GMB citing overwhelming popular support as a reason. GMB National Security Rachel Harrison declared, "We are overwhelmed by Wednesday's amazing public support for our paramedics and ambulance staff. People across the country have been wonderful in backing us, and we care so much about them too. That's why we are suspending the proposed GMB industrial action on 28th of December. We know the public will appreciate being able to enjoy Christmas without the additional anxiety. They support us and we support them." Another thing I want to say about unions. The union leaders, a lot of them tend to be corrupt. They tend to be corrupt capitalists. We need to find a way to get around the corrupt capitalists taking over a union. And a good way of that is, well, there's nationalizing all companies. But the thing is, we can't do that without a socialist president. We can't get a socialist for a president unless we get money out of politics. So it all really comes down to money in politics. That's why we are, I read that. The union leaders are terrified that such support could galvanize millions of workers who see in the attacks on NHS workers a link between the fight to defend public health and their own struggle to defend their livelihoods. Harrison was so desperate to call off the strike altogether, she told The Guardian that whereas the GMB's dispute with the government would only be resolved with a higher pay offer, an offer would be taken back to members for a vote. Harrison said, "What we are saying to the government is come to us, make us an offer, GMB members will vote on it. We're not making a specific demand. We would still like to see an inflation-busting offer and a restoration of decades worth of lost wages, but if an offer is made, we will take that back to our members to decide. And another thing when it comes to inflation, the government has every opportunity to take care of inflation. The market system is not working. We need a centralized planned economy. And the way to do that is a socialized economy. We need to nationalize all industry and make it where the government controls the prices of things. They can't go over a certain threshold. Preferably, can't go over a certain amount of how much it costs to produce and how much the labor costs to make it. So, Harrison was so desperate to call to strike. Oh, I read that. The GMB has not announced another strike by ambulance workers until January the 11th, giving the government more time to refine its strike-breaking operation, including the mobilization of the armed forces and a soon-to-be enacted raft of anti-strike legislation. Just like here in the United States with President Joe Biden voting to screw over the railroad workers. And if you think Joe Biden is a pro-union president, you're sadly mistaken. This guy is just as anti-union as Donald Trump was. So, but anyway, I guess let's just continue. A defeat of the ambulance workers would deal a heavy blow to hundreds of thousands of nurses in the NHS who began a strike on December the 15th, followed by another stoppage December the 20th, despite desperate claims by the Royal College of Nursing and other health unions to prevent them. The GMB sabotage followed soon after the Communication Workers Union announcing the end of a national strike on 40,000 telecom call center workers at BT and engineers at OpenReach. I had a video on that was going to go up, but we had an issue with the recording, so that video will not be going up after all. The CWU suspended rolling strike action, which started in July after its 8th day on October 24th, and entered closed-door negotiations with management. On November the 28th, the CWU Executive Committee announced an agreement with the company with a strong recommendation to accept. It reneged on a mandated demand of 10% backdated to April, agreeing a de facto pay cut consisting of a flat rate increase of £1,500, not backdated to April but brought forward from 2023 and made payable from January in monthly payments. The deal sparked outrage among CWU members, with many denouncing the deal on social media and quitting the union. The BT sellout is a warning to the 115,000 postal workers in the CWU employed by Royal Mail, who have held 19 days of 1- and 2-day strikes since the end of August to demand a pay increase and end to tax on working conditions and the withdrawal of a plan for 10,000 redundancies. The postal workers' struggle was kept isolated from the BT strike. The CWU has repeatedly stated that it would settle the dispute with a below-inflation 9% pay deal. Prior to the two latest days of strikes on December the 23rd and 24th, I guess that means, the union offered to call them off to implement a period of calm until January the 16th. It wanted only a promise from the company of no compulsory redundancies as the basis for further negotiations. The CWU has announced no further strikes for 2023. The Rail, Maritime, and Transport Union bureaucracy assiduously promoted by pseudo-left groups, is seeking to end most of industrial action by 40,000 rail workers on the basis of a similar rotten deal. Last week, the pro-government Daily Telegraph reviewed that the RMT leader Mick Lynch has held secrets with network rail bosses in hopes that he will sue for peace in the new year. According to the newspaper, Lynch and his deputy Eddie Dempsey met Network Rail's representatives on a hastily arranged agreement on Tuesday morning, December 20th. It reported the meeting between the RMT and Network Rail was arranged following a flurry of last-minute phone calls on Tuesday morning. It is understood that both sides have now agreed to a fresh round of negotiations in the second week of January. The third of the national strikes, which have been ongoing for a month or more, that of 70,000 higher education workers, is being suppressed by the university and college union bureaucracy. UCU leader Joe Grady announced on December 15th that a decision by the union's higher education committee to move the indefinite strike action would be thrown out. Bradley unflatteringly declared that the union would only sanction further token stoppages and blocks in February, March, and April. 5 days later, Grady issued a strike strategy document explicitly based on ruling out an indefinite strike. It opposed another decision by the HEC for a marketing boycott in January, stating a market and assessment boycott intended to hit end of academic year summative assessment would be best timed to start no earlier than W/C 17th of April, almost 4 months away. In response to the pathetic appeals of the union bureaucracy, the government insisted there would be no concessions. The Times cited the response of Steve Barclay, the Health and Social Care Secretary, to the GMB, calling off this week's ambulance strike. Barclay said the unions were launching a de facto general strike by rescheduling action to January, denouncing the unaffordable pay demands of unions. Another minister, speaking anonymously, said effectively the unions are looking to hold the country to ransom. The governments will be looking at stronger regulation early in the new year. The government's main concern is that the union leaders will not be able to stem a growing movement of the working class under conditions in which further strikes are underway, with more set to go ahead in the new year. These include walkouts this week by border force workers at airports include Heathrow, Gatwick, driver and vehicle standards agencies, staff in several UK regions, and national highways workers in the West Midlands and southwest of England. From January the 3rd, rail workers in the RMT will take several days of national strikes as a national highway stoppage is also held nationwide. On January 5th, thousands of train drivers in the ASLEF union will take national action. On January 10th, tens of thousands of teachers in the Educational Institute of Scotland will strike, along with members of the Scottish Secondary Teachers Association. On the same day, ambulance drivers in Unison and the GMB will hold a nationwide stoppage, followed by another strike across London, Yorkshire, the Northwest, Northeast, and Southwest on January the 23rd. Workers confront not just a government set at crushing their strikes, but a trade union bureaucracy which stands foursquare with the ruling elite. Their role is to suppress all demands for broader action against the government and dissipate every struggle. Workers must turn to the formation of their own organizations of struggle. Rank and file communities operate independently of the union apparatus. We urge workers to contact the International Workers Alliance of Rank and File Committees to take forward this struggle. All right, there. That was from the World Socialist website. The workers in the UK trade union are being screwed by the union leadership because, as I said, capitalists will become the leader of the unions. They make way more money than the working class in the union, and then they will make deals to screw over the working class. So these unions are corrupt. The union leaders are corrupt anyway, and they need to be replaced by a person that is going to actually care for the needs of the working class. So that's going to conclude this video. My idea is just to nationalize every corporation, break them up, and form them into worker cooperatives. But that's going to conclude this video. Of course, public unions, where they can democratically uh, do things democratically, workplace democracy, under a national workers co-op, a nationalized workers co-op. But that's going to conclude this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that. And we'll see you in the next one. This has been the Socialist Report. Peace out.